Hi, I'm Ryder, and in today's video I'll be reviewing the reMarkable 2, probably the most popular e-ink tablet on the market today. This is the second video in our series on conscious computing, where I review devices based on their ability to help me lead a better life. To learn more about the idea of conscious computing in general, check out the previous video in the series. I'll link to it in the caption below. I'll evaluate the reMarkable 2 tablet based on the 5 criteria of the conscious computing scale that I put together. Each criteria exists on a scale from 0 to 10. 0 means there's no technology, it's fully manual, and 10 means there's a little to no human intervention. Neither is inherently good or bad. It's about finding the right Goldilocks zone based on your individual needs. These are the 5 criteria of the conscious computing scale. 1. Input. This dial is about getting information into my computer. 2 is throughput. This dial is about capturing and organizing that information. 3 is stayput. This dial is about staying focused on the work. 4 is compute. This dial determines how much new information is created by you versus for you. And then finally, output. This dial is about how closely your results match your intention. At the core of conscious computing is a simple rule: purpose before product. I need to get really clear about what I'm trying to do before I try to find the tools to do it. Otherwise, I'll never know whether the tool, in this case the reMarkable, is the right tool for the job. Okay, so let's start there. Intention. In short, my intention when using the reMarkable is to become a more prolific writer. Not only do I love to write, but it's also the most powerful way to develop my thinking. The more I write, the more I develop my skill as a thinker and a communicator. I'm best known for being the creator of the bullet journal method. If you're not familiar, you can learn more about it here. In short, BUJO is an operating system for your life. When you practice BUJO, you organize what you're doing, stay mindful of how you're doing, and why you're doing what you're doing. You write your way to a better life. I bullet journal using pen and paper for many reasons, but one of the most important is that it forces you to go offline, to process your life without distractions. Some of my greatest thinking comes from these stretches of silent written introspection. I have a lot of ideas within the pages of my notebooks, but I find that many of them never see the light of day simply because of the amount of friction and distractions that come from switching from page to pixel. On the other hand, when I write on my laptop, I can easily get distracted watching YouTube videos or being on social media. It's way too open, way too little friction. The reMarkable 2 is a device that bills itself as a paper tablet. Could it be the perfect bridge I'm looking for between my digital and analog worlds? Connected yet distraction-free? Let's find out. Before we dive in, I want to be really transparent about the fact that reMarkable coincidentally reached out to me as I was gearing up to make this series and sent me the reMarkable 2. I was planning on buying one anyway, but thanks to outreach, I didn't have to do that. So just to be clear, they aren't sponsoring this video in any other way, and they haven't seen it, so all opinions are my own. Let's see if they deliver on their promise. Input. How well does this device allow me to access information? So first, I have to ask myself, for a writing device, how much access to information do I actually need? And the answer is probably not much. The less the better, to avoid the temptation of getting distracted. This is great because the reMarkable makes putting things on the device pretty manual. The reMarkable cannot download any apps. Its features are limited to the device's own custom and minimal OS. reMarkable as a company does offer some external apps that allow you to add PDFs and ebooks and files to the device, but I already use Reader's Reader for articles and newsletters and the Kindle app for reading books, and I try to avoid reading PDFs whenever possible. All in all, I've solved most of my reading needs with the Books Palma, which I reviewed here, linked below. But for the sake of this review, I did want to try it out so I could see what they were like. As with most PDF readers, you can't resize the text here, only the entire document. So if the text is too small, you have to pinch to zoom, which is not a really great experience on e-ink displays in general. On the other hand, marking up PDFs with the stylus is fantastic. It feels like marking up a printed document. Though zooming and scrolling isn't great, flipping pages is. So when you're reading a document that is formatted right, reading on this thing is a real joy. The screen is matte, so there's very little glare, and everything is sharp with high contrast. So I'd give the reMarkable for input a 3 out of 10, which for me is great. I don't want to be tempted by irrelevant media on my writing device. With that said, I would love some access to relevant articles on the fly. I think it would be great for reMarkable to partner with Readwise to create a super minimal version of their app where maybe I could tag some things in Reader like reMarkable and then they would sync. That way I could get only what is relevant to my writing while keeping the input experience super focused and clean. This brings us to Throughput. How well does this device help me capture and organize my information? Again, I have to keep my intention in mind here. The device needs to be excellent at helping me capture information, in which case it's my ideas, my writing. This may be the most important feature, period, so let's start here. The reMarkable is an e-ink tablet, which means that it actually uses physical particles to create contrast on its black and white, non-illuminated screen, which gives it a very tactile, analog quality. It feels great to both hold and to use. It's both premium and approachable at the same time. Writing on the reMarkable is a real joy. I wouldn't go so far to say that it's like writing on paper, but it does feel way more analog and satisfying than just about any other screen and tech that I've used. It's so much nicer than writing on any type of glass screen, even with that paper-like screen protector on it. This is due to both the nib that comes with the great stylus that the reMarkable sells and the screen on the reMarkable itself, which has this kind of texture. The lag is nearly undetectable, especially when you're writing at an average pace. There are a limited amount of pen types and line widths and colors to choose from in the software, but that doesn't really bother me. You can select and drag content around on the page, which turned out to be a very useful feature, especially when brainstorming or copying and pasting content from one page to another. Now, that's not a revolutionary feature, but it's well executed here. Because the reMarkable is an e-ink tablet, it's a joy to use in direct sunlight. It reads like paper, and in general, it's just simply easy on the eyes, both aesthetically and practically. There's no backlight, so viewing conditions are the same as with paper. At first, this was really irritating when it got dark out, but it grew on me. As with a lot of things, I had to let go of the way that I was automatically using my tech in the past. Not having a built-in backlight is an example of this. I've been known to lose track of time when I write, and I often end up sitting in a dark room with the blue light blasting at me from my screen, which often causes eye strain and may disrupt my sleep in very meaningful ways. With the reMarkable, I had to be intentional about my environment, and that was a plus in a couple ways. At night, I'd have to get more cozy with the device, like I would with a traditional notebook. During the day, I could use it outside no matter how bright it was and type on it like I would on a laptop, a feature that I'll talk about a little bit later. Okay, so now let's move on to organization. Like everything else, reMarkable's take here is minimal, almost to a fault. It feels like their design philosophy is the 80-20 rule. They provide 20% of the features that provide 80% of the functionality you need. You can organize your content by tag, file, folder, and by notebook. But since I use this device primarily as my notebook, I had little use for anything else other than the notebook feature, so I'll focus on that. Hi, Future Writer here with a quick side note. I know this is already becoming a long video, but something came up that I think is really worth mentioning. So it seems like reMarkable as a company is really intentional about the sustainability of their technology, which I think is a really important part of the conversation, especially when we talk about conscious computing. We live in the age of planned obsolescence, where it's in the best interest of tech companies to sell us new stuff all the time. The greatest phone, the greatest tablet, year after year after year, even every 2 years or 3 years, we are buying technology that has a catastrophic environmental impact when we think about consumption at scale. When we think about 100 million people a year buying a new phone and throwing out 100 million phones. So starting to really buy technology that is built to last, where the company really focuses not on the latest and greatest, but how to make the greatest thing that will stay with us as long as possible and be repairable, I think is really important and worth mentioning and paying attention to as we start to vote for the kind of technology we want with our wallets. Though the reMarkable can transcribe your handwritten text pretty well, it can't search your handwriting directly, at least not at this time. It can only search typed text, including the documents that you uploaded. So in order to find anything in my notebooks, I had to use tags, which was okay. But it brings me to maybe my biggest gripe with the device, which is traversal. Though the writing is super responsive and fast, and flipping through and reordering pages is easy, the screen isn't nearly as responsive or sensitive as a more traditional tablet. so swiping and tapping around quickly to find things is cumbersome. When using a notebook, I move around a lot. I flip between pages, often holding open one page in order to reference it while I'm writing on another. This was just not possible on the reMarkable. Though you can quickly scan through pages or view them as a grid, the thumbnails are too small to be useful. Additionally, there's no quick way to toggle between pages or have them side by side. You can favorite documents or notebooks, but not a single page. The good news is that all this could be fixed with a future software update. Wink wink. So how would I rate the throughput or the usability of this device? I would give it a 3 out of 10. Writing on this thing is best in class, and the UI is clean and intuitive and gets out of your way. Sometimes a little bit too much. An interesting side effect of using the reMarkable is that it got me really clear on what's actually important to me when it comes to organizing my writing. That in itself is a really powerful side benefit, to create a meaningful distinction between what I need versus what I want. I realized that I needed way less than I thought, but there are some basic things that I really need that were missing. So here's my wish list. I would love to have handwriting search, some kind of page level toggle, pin or bookmarking, spell checking, and two-way document sync, which brings me to Stayputs. Stayput. How well does this device allow me to focus on the work? I think one of my main issues with my writing pipeline is context switching, moving from one thing to another. Context switching can destroy not only my focus, but also my ideas. It's happened often when I write on my laptop, I get a notification or want to look something up only to lose the idea that I was just in the middle of developing. I want a device that reduces context switching to a minimum and gets rid of notifications altogether. The reMarkable did that quite easily, but there were two unexpected features that really helped with this. The first is that the reMarkable offers infinite height pages. That means that you can keep adding to any page indefinitely. Paired with being able to easily move things on that page, it changed the way that I actually thought about organizing my content. It turned each page into its own folder when necessary and removed the need to flip between pages entirely. I could keep thinking in place. Secondly was the keyboard. Along with the tablet itself, reMarkable was kind enough to send me their Typefolio case, which features an integrated keyboard. This turned out to be a real game changer. The typing is not a gimmick here. It's a truly integrated and well thought out experience both on the hardware and on the software side. It allows the reMarkable to go from a great notebook to a super slick modern typewriter in moments. Though it made the package twice as heavy, the transition is seamless, making the context switching minimal. I found myself regularly transitioning from journaling to writing articles. No getting up from one platform to go to another. No logging in, no access to the internet, no checking my inbox. One mode of thinking, right into the next without moving. I could get the first draft out really quickly. It's very close to being an all-in-one writing solution, except for 4 things. One is that the reMarkable has no spell or grammar check whatsoever. When I pull up what I wrote on a reMarkable in a Google Doc, it becomes clear that I need both of those features big time. 2. No mouse functionality, so that makes editing depend on the keyboard and stylus. Editing a long document that way on an e-ink tablet just isn't fun, and it's much better done elsewhere. The addition of a trackpad or one of those old school track nubs would really go a long way here. 3. If I ever needed to do some research, I have to go somewhere else, or I have to stop what I'm doing to download a document on the device because there is no browser and there is no real on-the-fly access to books or articles that I didn't preload. This trade-off I gladly accept, but it did trip me up when I needed to reference or pull a quote. 4. As far as I could figure it out, though you can import docs from Google Drive directly, you can't upload them. It creates a local copy. This means that you have to email yourself the text, then copy and paste it into a Google Doc later. Two-way sync would just make things much more convenient here. And a bonus one. Nowadays, most word processors on your desktop or laptop also integrate directly with popular publishing platforms like Substack, Medium, or Ghost. I think enabling those upstream features would be a big win for reMarkable without making things messy. Despite these minor gripes, the reMarkable paired with the keyboard felt revolutionary for me. It made writing not only more focused, but fun. I could draw on the doc that I was typing, or I could quickly sketch out some idea by hand and then start writing an article about it, all without ever touching another device, the web, or getting a single notification. Though I think it's a shame that I can't publish directly from the device, it gets me really close, really fast. It's a wonderful machine for getting first drafts out. This is especially true for short and medium-length articles so far, and that's huge. It keeps me focused for some of the most challenging stretches of generative writing. So for Stayput, I give the reMarkable a 4 out of 10. Okay, let's move to compute. In this category, I want to think about how much of this work is going to be done by me as opposed to for me. And when it comes to my writing, I want as little as possible of the writing and the thinking done for me. Especially in the age of AI, it's very easy to offload your thinking. I want to slow down here because now we're going back to the core, the whole idea behind conscious computing, to use technology to live a better life. Part of living a better life, a more meaningful life, is the process of growth, and growth requires resistance and consistency. This is how we build strength not only in our bodies, but also in our minds. To me, a great writer can write about anything and make it interesting. That is the sign of a skillful thinker. Being a skillful thinker takes practice, and writing is one of the most powerful ways to practice that skill. It forces you to figure things out, to connect the dots, and that is often hard and time-consuming and simply non-negotiable. And then enter AI. AI allows us to take a lot of shortcuts when it comes to thinking. When it comes to writing an email to my landlord, that's wonderful. I don't want to have to think about that, even though I know it's important. AI saves me real valuable time here with this kind of life admin content creation. But it's a slippery slope. We as a species are programmed to default to the path of least resistance. And that's basically one of the main promises and features of AI, to remove the resistance of having to make up our mind. I fear that we will begin to transition from offloading meaningless thinking to AI to meaningful thinking, thinking deeply about the things that really matter to us, thinking about real problems in our lives or communities or in the world. Offloading that kind of thinking is when we truly risk not only AI dependence, but our very ability to say anything interesting. So no, I don't want my writing tools to think for me. When it comes to the reMarkable, you really are doing all of the work. There's no AI, no spell check, no grammar check, etc. In this way, it really does feel like thinking on paper. For me, when it comes to writing, less is more. That's true not only for the content itself, but for the tools that we create that content with. The more work you put into the writing, the more you flex those skills, the better you will become. For me, it's important that technology gets out of my way, and the reMarkable really did that. On a compute scale, I give the reMarkable a 2. It provided the right technology at the right time to let me create what I wanted, the way I wanted to create. Be it writing or drawing or typing, it just gave me that freedom of thinking on paper. So how closely did my output match my intentions? When I started this series, I stated that the power of technology is to give us superhuman powers, to help us amplify our individual abilities. Through using the reMarkable, I'm beginning to change my mind about the role of technology in the modern age. Before I get into that though, I'm going to give this a rating. So I give the reMarkable a 4 out of 10 for output. It strikes a near perfect balance between my ability to write and the abilities of current technology to do things that I simply can't. If and when they fulfill the rest of my wish list, wink wink, I would give this thing a perfect 5. The reMarkable goes counter most other personal computing devices out there in many different ways. See, the iPad is designed to be many things to many people. The reMarkable is designed to be very specific things to very specific people. Whereas the iPad is hardware designed to house countless apps, I feel like the reMarkable feels almost like a single app wrapped in this beautiful, lovely hardware. It's incredibly intentional. It has a very strong opinion on what it is and what it isn't. And for the most part, I have to agree with them. That said, I don't think that they consider themselves to be a modern typewriter, but I do, and it makes the device much more compelling than I'd first thought it would be. As far as my intentions went to become a more productive writer, this tech was spot on. Since I've moved on to review the next device in this series, I've started writing less. My writing has slowed down. So overall, the reMarkable lives up to its name in some very unexpected ways. We're now in an age where more, better, and faster have become really questionable features. Yes, the reMarkable allowed me to write more and faster, but not because of more features, but because of the lack of them. What it allowed me to do was to think the way that I think, and write the way that I write, and very little else. It allowed me to operate in a digital world while protecting me from its distractions. It basically allowed me to just focus on the work. It also protected me from my own natural impulses and impatience that are becoming increasingly exploited by technology. So who is this for? I think that the reMarkable 2 is for people who want a distraction-free platform that allows them to organize their life and process their thoughts with some connectivity. So will the reMarkable replace my good old-fashioned paper notebook? Before I answer that, I'm currently in a deep dive using another very interesting device for this series. It's called the Daylight Computer DC-1. By now, I've reviewed a device for reading, now for writing. But what if there was a device that combined them all in a way that allows us to compute more consciously? That's what I'll be exploring next time in my review of the Daylight's DC-1. If you like this video or you're interested in learning more about that device, please be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for taking the time, and I'll see you in the next one.